let's do a little bit of review together for the upcoming final in algebra. We'll start with this problem where we see that a bag consists of 3 kinds of marbles. Alright, and it says the number of red marbles is 4 more than twice the number of blue marbles. So we'll write R for red, and what does it say? It's 4 more than twice the number of blue. I'm going to do 4 plus 2b. Twice the number of blue, great. Well, what else do we know? It says the number of blue marbles is 3 less than the number of yellow marbles. How can we express that? Well, we'll make b for blue, and it's the yellow minus 3. Tremendous. So what else do we know? It says altogether there were a total of 23 marbles. How many red marbles were there? All right, so this is ultimately what we want to know, how many red marbles there were. But we have this one final fact. There's a total of 23 marbles. How can we express this? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write b plus r, the red plus the blue plus the yellow, equals 23. Tremendous. So the next thing that we need to do is a little bit of substitution. So we know that r equals 4 plus 2b, and we know that b, the number of blue, is the number of yellow minus 3. So I'm going to write that like y minus 3 plus red. Instead of r, what I'm going to do is write 4 plus 2b, and then they didn't give us any additional information about the yellows, so I'm going to write simply plus y equals 23. And when we're taking a look at this new equation, I can see that we've got 2 variables. I see we've got y, we've got b, and then we've got y again. But I also know that b equals y minus 3. So what we're going to do is I'm going to rewrite this one last time. And I'm going to rewrite it like y plus 3 plus 4 plus 2, and then open parentheses. And instead of b, what I'm going to write is y minus 3. Y minus 3. And then we got plus y equals 23. Let's shift this over a little bit. Plus 23. So now what we're going to have to do is a little bit of simplifying, a little bit of combining 3 terms. And ultimately we know that if we add all the y's, and I can see there's a y here, we're going to have to distribute. And so what that's going to look like is if we multiply 2 times y and then 2 times negative 3, that's going to give us y plus 3 plus 4 plus 2y minus 6 plus y, of course, equal to 23. And then let's do a little combining of like terms. I see that we've got a y here, a y here, and a y here, and these are all positive, so it's going to be 1y plus 2y, which is 3y, plus an additional y, which is 4y, and then 4 minus 6. So what's 6 minus 4? Plus 3 is going to give us minus 5, and this is all, of course, still equal to 23. Not done yet. We're going to isolate for the y, so we're going to add 5 to both sides. We're going to get 4y equals what? 28. And I know that now y equals 7. That makes sense, right? If we divide both sides by 4 to isolate for y. So y equals 7. So how can we figure out how to use that information to determine how many red number of marbles there were? So what we can do is if y equals 7, right, I'm going to shift this over right here, let's figure out the number of blue. Okay, so blue equals y equals 7. So now instead of y, I'm going to rewrite 7 minus 3. And 7 minus 3 is 4, so b equals 4. We're super close to getting this answer. So how can we determine the number of red? Well, if red equals 4 plus 2b, I'm going to write that like 4 plus 2, open parentheses, 4. And I know that 2 times 4 is 8, and then 8 times 4 is 12. So there are 12 marbles. We just figured out the answer. Amazing. Let's take a look at this next problem. I see that it says, on one day, 4 gardeners and 4 helpers earned $360. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to express that like 4g for gardeners, right? And 4 helpers, which I'll do 4h, equals $360. What else do we know? It says, on another day working the same number of hours and at the same rate of pay, 5 gardeners and 6 helpers earned $480. How can we express that? Well, if we're going to make gardeners G, I can see that 5 gardeners plus 6 helpers this time earned $480. We want to know, how much does a gardener earn and how much does a helper earn each day? How much money are these separate jobs earning each day? And we could take 2 methods to solve this. We could do either the substitution or elimination. Let's do elimination. So we remember that for this to work, the coefficients got to be the same, but the sign has got to be different. What can we multiply into this so that the sign is the opposite, the coefficient's the same? Well, let's eliminate the g's. Let's get rid of the gardeners right here. So what would we need to multiply into the top? I think that, yes, you're right. -5 into the top, and then +4 into the bottom. And so when we rewrite that, what that's going to look like, we're going to distribute -5, of course, into the first term, second, and all the way over. Likewise, we're going to be multiplying 4 into 5g, 6h, and 480. And when we bust out our handy dandy calculator, we know that this is going to now look like -20g minus 20h equals 1800. 360 by -5 is going to give us -1800. Can't forget that. All right, and the bottom, what's that going to look like? It's going to be this time 20g plus 24h equals 1920. Beautiful. And I know, as you guys do, that 20g plus 20g, or 20g minus 20g, these cancel out. So this is gone, and we're left with only the h's. So what's 24h minus 20h? That, of course, is going to give us 4h. Equals what? What is 1920 minus 1800? That's going to give us 120. And then so if we isolate the h, we're going to divide both sides by 4. H is equal to what? 30. That's right. Amazing. So these helpers are getting, was it $30 each day? Wow, that's not amazing. But we're going to figure out how much these gardeners are earning, and we're going to see if it's a little bit more. And to do that, what we need to do is pop this back into the equation. So we can select any equation really, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this top one right here. 4g plus 4h equals 360. And now we know how much these helpers are earning each day. And so let's go like this. I'm going to rewrite this like 4g plus, and now instead of h, I'm going to pop in the 30, right? We're simply substituting where h was before, equals 360. Amazing. And I know that this is now going to look like 4g plus 120 equals 360. Don't forget, we got to get rid of this 120, so we're going to subtract 120 from both sides. And when we do, 4g is going to be equal to how much? 240. Divide both sides by 4. And when we do, that tells us that the gardeners, they're making $60 a day. Alright, that's not bad. It's better than those helpers over there. I prefer to be a gardener. I imagine you would too. Here we have a bag consisting of 3 types of marbles. We've got red, white, and blue, totaling to 57 marbles. That's going to be important. We're going to have to come back to that. What else do we know? It says the number of red marbles is 1 less than twice that of the white. So if we let R equal the red marbles, it says 1 less than twice that of white. So we can know that that's going to look like 2w minus 1. Tremendous. What else do we know? It says that the number of white is 2 more than the number of blue. So we can write that like w for white. White is 2 more than the number of blue. So we can write simply b plus 2. And we also know that we've got red, white, and blue marbles for a grand total of 57. So that's what we know. How do we figure out how many of each kind of marble are there? What is our approach? We're going to do a little bit of substitution. And so let's jump right on in. We know that R is also equal to 2w minus 1. So I'm going to simply write 2w minus 1 plus, and we know that w is equal to b plus 2, so I'm going to write b plus 2, and then we've got plus b, I'm just bringing that down, equals 57. And when we pause for a moment and analyze this new equation, I can see that we've got two b's and we've got one w. We need to isolate for a single variable. How can we get rid of this w? Well, I know that w equals b plus 2, so I'm going to rewrite this like 2 open parentheses, and I'm going to write b plus 2, substituting right in for the w, right? And then I'm going to make sure I write everything down. Minus 1 plus b plus 2 plus b equals 57. Amazing. And we got to do a little bit of combining like terms after we distribute. And I know that 2 times b is going to give us 2b. 2 times 2 is going to give us 4 minus 1 plus b plus 2 plus b equals 57. And then let's see how we can combine like terms. We've got a b here. We got two b's here, right? We got a b and we got a b. That's going to give us a grand total of 4b. And then 4 minus 1 plus 2. Do you guys see that? Sometimes what I like to do if I get confused is circle the like terms. So I see 4 minus 1 plus 2. That's going to give us plus 5 equals 57. We know we got to subtract 5 from both sides. And when we do, that's going to give us 4b equals 52. Let's divide both sides by 4. And when we do that, we know that b is going to be 13. All right, so we just figured out how many blue marbles there are in this bag. B equals 13. But we're not done. We got to figure out how many red and how many white. And I know that white is b plus 2. And we just figured out that b is 13. 13 plus 2 is 15. All right, so there's 15 white marbles. What about the number of red marbles? Red, it says 2w minus 1. So 15 times 2 is 30. 30 minus 1 is 29. We just figured out the answer to this problem, number of white, blue, and red marbles. For this equation, it says find the slope of the line through each pair of points. And we've got two sets of coordinates, right? Critically, you must know the formula for slope. What is the formula for slope? We know that it's m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right. One thing that I really like to do is label all the coordinates, because sometimes even I get confused. So I know that negative 2 is x, and I know that 14 is y. 6 is x, I know that 10 is y. And I know that this is going to be 1, 1, 2, 2. Any questions? We're good so far? Amazing. All right, so it says y2 minus y1. All right, so y2 is 10 minus y1, which is 14, over, and this is m equals, right? This is formula for slope. We're finding the slope. X2 minus x1, it's going to be 6 minus, ladies and gentlemen, you guys see how x1 is negative 2? 6 minus negative 2. Please don't mess that up. And when we do a little bit of math, what's 10 minus 14? That's going to be negative 4 over what? 6 minus negative 2 is going to give us positive 8. All right. Can we simplify that any further? We sure can. That's going to simplify to m equals negative 1/2. Excellent. Please make sure that you remember the formula for slope. You're definitely going to be applying this on this test. Tremendous. Here we've got a problem involving sequences, and it says find the next 5 terms to this recursive equation. I noticed that the first term is 5, but really let's take a look at this equation. This is our template. This is going to help us determine how to proceed. We've got to get terms 2 through 5. What do we do? Well, first let's take a look at this n right here. So it's n plus 4 times f of n minus 1. This n refers to whatever the number is, the counter, the term number. So we're going to simply pop that right in there. And what about f of n minus 1? What does that mean? This refers to the previous term. Okay, this is the value of the previous term. And we're going to be multiplying this by 4. Great, so let's jump right on in. Let's see, let's approach this together. I haven't done this one yet. I noticed that the first term is 5. Beautiful. What about the second one? F of 2 equals what? It equals n. In this case, I know n is going to be 2 plus 4, open parentheses, what's it being multiplied by? 5, the previous term. And so 4 times 5 is what? 20. And then 20 plus 2 is, of course, going to give us 22. Beautiful. So now what we're going to do is we're going to sort of just, what I like to do is sort of create the structure, that way it's consistent all the way down. We know that we've got to get the third term, the fourth term, and the fifth term. We know that each time we're going to be multiplying it by n. So in this case, it's going to be 3, 4, and 5. We also know that we're going to be multiplying by 4 each time, or adding 4 each time, and that 4 is going to be multiplied by the value of the previous term. All right, so all of this doesn't change. So what do we know? We know that if 4 is being multiplied by f of n minus 1, it's the previous term, and the value of the second term, right, is 22. For the third term, we're going to have to plug 22 right on in. All right, so what is 22 times 4? So 20 times 4 is 80. 8 times 4 times 2 is 8, so that's going to give us 88 plus 3 is going to give us 91. Oh boy, I need to bust out my calculator. We're going to plug in 91 right there, and 90 times 4 is 360, right? And so that 91 times 4 is going to be, hold up. Yeah, of course. It's going to be 364. 364 plus 4 is going to give us 370. Great, and so we're going to plug 370 in here. And we know that 4 times 370 is going to give us 1480 plus 5 is going to give us 14, 85. All right, we just figured out what the value is of the fifth term. Nice. Let's do one more problem involving the recursive equation. So what do we know? We're looking at this, and I can see it says f of n equals n plus 2f of n minus 1, meaning 2 times the previous value, and the value of the first term is simply 9. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write f of 1 equals 9. All right, the first term in the sequence is 9. What comes next? F of 2 equals what? 2 plus 2 times the value of the previous term, which in this case is going to be 9. And that's going to give us how much? Well, 2 times 9 is 18, plus 2 is 20. 20, great. So now what we're going to do is we're going to apply the method that I used before. You can do this individually, you can do it like line by line, or you can do it all the way through like I am right now. I just like to be consistent to make sure that I'm not making any mistakes. All right, so it says n plus 2, and I know that's not going to change. So n in the third term is going to be 3, 4, 5. Does that make sense? Plus 2, plus 2, plus 2, open parentheses, open parentheses, open parentheses. All right. And so I know that for f of 3, it's going to be 3 plus 2 times the value of the previous term, which is 20. So 20 times 2 is going to be 40, plus 3 is going to be 43. Great. So we can now plug that in right there. And 2 times 43 is going to give us 86, plus 4 is going to give us 90. Great. So plug 90 right on in there. And I know that 90 times 2 is going to be 180. 180 plus 5 is going to be 185. All right. We just figured out the next 5 terms to this recursive equation. So this problem says, find the equation to the arithmetic sequence if the 29th term, if a of 29 equals negative 6, and the 37th term equals 16. Well, the first thing that we're going to need to do is recognize that this is not recursive. In fact, this is involving the explicit equation. And it wants us to find the equation. And so what is that going to look like? Well, the explicit equation is a sub n equals the first term, a sub 1 plus d times n minus 1. That looks familiar, right? the next thing that we're going to need to do is 2 steps. We're going to have to, 1, find the common difference, and then next we're going to need to find the first term. We're going to need to find a sub 1. All right, how do we do that? How do we approach this? Well, what we need to do is recognize the formula to find the difference is going to be AF minus AI over F minus I. Beautiful. And I know that in the context of this problem, that's going to look like, in fact, we could actually label this, right? So this is going to be AF, this is going to be AI, oops. This is going to be AI, this is going to be F, and this is going to be I right there. And I know that that's a lot of blue right now, but what can that look like? That's going to be 16 minus negative 6 over 37 minus 29. Beautiful. And so 16 plus 6 is what? That's 22. 37 minus 29 is going to give us 8. Can we simplify that any further? We sure can. So the difference from term to term in this problem is going to be 11 over 4. All right, so we just figured out the difference. Now what we're going to need to do is figure out what the first term is. So let's use this formula to help us. So it says a sub n equals a sub 1 plus d times n minus 1. So in this case, what we're going to do is we need to figure out which of these 2 corresponding, I guess, pairs of values. We've got the 29th term, we've got the 37th term, we've got to pick one. Let's pick, we'll pick the 37th term equals 16. So a sub n equals 16 plus the difference, which is 11 over 4, times n minus 1. 16 is what? The 37th term. So we'll write 37 minus 1. Beautiful. And we know that because this is n minus 1, 37 minus 1, this is going to look like now 16 equals the first term plus the difference, oops, whatever, 36. So what we're going to do now is we're going to multiply 11 over 4 by 36, and when you pop that into your handy-dandy calculator, maybe multiply 36 by 11 and then divide by 4, that's going to give us 99. So we know that 16 equals the first term plus 99. And now what we need to do is we got to subtract 99 from both sides. If you do it to one side, you got to do it to the other. So the first term equals negative 83. Beautiful. Figured out the common difference. Figured out the first term. We're going to now have to plug it back into this equation. And we know that the equation is a sub n equals first term plus difference times n minus 1. What does that look like here? Simply write a sub n, to write the equation, a sub n equals the first term, which is negative 83, plus the difference, which is going to be what? 11 over 4, times n minus 1. This is the answer. This problem asks, what is the equation of the line shown? So here I see a line, it's cutting across the y-axis. I also see that we've got 3 dots indicating how we might be able to find the slope. So I'm going to choose to write this equation in slope-intercept form. So we know that it's y equals mx plus b. Let's figure out what the b is. The b in this case, and I'll sort of set this up. What is the b? Oh, you guys, check this out. The b is negative. It's going down. It's negative 2. So it's going to be negative 2. All right, we just figured out what the the y-intercept is. What about the slope? I know that we're at negative 2. That's one dot. I see another dot right there, so I'm going to count up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's a rise over run. 4, 1, 2, 3. Let's check that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 over 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. All right, guys. It's 4 over 3. We just wrote the equation of this line shown right here.